Hey guys, it's Shane here from Tank Hunter Miniatures, and today we're doing another tier list, this time on the Sisters of Battle tanks. Now you might think this is kind of a small video because there's only 5 tanks we're actually going to be going over. I thought about doing it mixed with another Imperial faction, either Custodes or Admech, but it just doesn't feel the same because these guys need to be judged on their own, not compared to other vehicles, and I'll explain that later on in the vehicle, what I mean by that. But for now, let's just get into it. Alright, starting off, we're looking at the Rhino. Pretty standard, of course, Rhino. Pretty much the same across the board. It's good toughness, good movability, you know, contains 12 models. Pretty much identical to the Space Marine version, only a bit worse leadership, and this has a 6-up invuln. So that's a pretty good trade. So for 75 points, they're both getting a good deal out of this Rhino. So of course, it's good value, does everything. Yeah, it's in the same place as the Space Marine one, being A tier. So now we're looking at the Immolator. Probably the most recognizable Sisters of Battle tank unit, aside from the Exorcist. This guy looks great. I've loved these new designs with the whole window and everything. Even the old model I thought looked really cool with the pilot on top and the glass dome in front of it. I thought that was really cool as well, so it's always looked good. That being said, for like a Rhino equivalent, it's got the higher toughness, which is good, and yep, the invuln, of course. For abilities and support, it's got the fire support rule, really good, and that can be really important, because if you were trying to take out something big, and you unload a bunch of melters from the unit, and you're getting rerolls to wound, that's really efficient. You're going to bring something down, even like Land Raider size, a lot easier with that fire support bonus. As for the weapons, I like how the Immolation Flamer isn't twin linked, it's just extra shots. I really wish more things were like that. I think the more shots are kind of better at clearing out a whole area than just consistently wounding, because if you're already wounding on 2s, say, because it's strength 6, you're already wounding on 2s against most human-sized things, you don't need the reroll, so it's better to have more shots. That being said, I think the heavy bolter, the twin heavy bolter, is probably the weakest loadout. Twin linked is alright, but it's not going to be taking out that much serious stuff. And of course the twin melt is sort of what you want to go with. Like it does, like I said, having melters being able to reroll the wound, definitely consistent, definitely good. So yeah, I'd either take the flamers or the melters. So you got some good variety there. Either way, you know, this ticks all the boxes. This guy's S tier. If you are going to be, you know, really Rhino rushing, you need the Immolator support. This is really going to help everything. Bring in an armored, you know, mobile infantry list. Now, the Castigator is one of the newest models that the Sisters of Battle have, so it's still kind of finding its feet, which is unfortunate, because the only thing really bringing this guy down is its ability, the Rites of Castigation. Well, that and its weapon profile, but I'll get into that. Because they're backwards. So, the autocannon, which, like I've said, is twin linked, so it's rerolling wounds, and it's rapid fire, it's consistent shots. Well, you reroll a hit against infantry, but if you're already taking 1 point of damage, you're already hitting on 2s. So the reroll to hit for both abilities is not that useful. It'd be so much better with a better ability to wound or better AP like the Predator has. So it's really meh. The ability to cause the battle shock test, that's actually really good. That's probably the best part of the ability, because that can really make a difference in, yeah, claiming very important battlefield objectives. So yeah, you can't fault it for that, but the 2 profiles, the autocannons or the battle cannon, because the battle cannon, of course, that's what you want to use to take out monsters, big things. But again, it's strength 10, so it's not going to be able to take out anything too big. It's only AP 1, so it can't take out much armored things. Only 3 damage, and if you have a lot of shots, that's good, but it's blast. So you're never going to be getting extra shots against a big target. And if it's a big enough target, why do you need the ignore cover? So it's all backwards. They need to swap it over, and like I said in my previous video, what we need to change, you need to, yeah, switch the autocannon and the battle cannon's abilities around, and just give them a bit of a tweak. With that in mind, it's still really powerful. Like I said, I went pretty good using this guy. The only thing that failed to do anything against was the, even with the battle cannon, it couldn't take out a knight. It came close. 3 of them came close, but they couldn't take out Canis Rex. And that was a real shame. I really wanted to see that. Yeah, they just couldn't get the job done. So with that in mind, because it loses points for its ability, the Castigator is going to go into A tier. So yeah, that's still a good spot. Now, the most recognizable vehicle for Sisters of Battle, the Exorcist. This is a pipe organ of absolute terror. Yeah, its mobility, shrine ability, that's pretty neat. So yeah, you can buff leadership, which is good, because they do need it. They're not quite Space Marine leadership, so that definitely is helpful. Its ability, of course, to hit indirect, that was missing from last edition. I'm glad it got that back, the heavy, so it's a bit more accurate. Like I said, the only thing that needs to change about the Exorcist, it just needs to be high strength, because again, cannot take down a knight, and maybe just one more AP, or something to help it. Yeah, it's the best damaging thing, but yeah, it's still not as good as a lot of other things. The other profile, the Flagellation, I mean, that's pretty good. It's only really going to be hurting like things like basic guardsmen, cultist, stuff like that. Like I said, the ignores cover is good, but yeah, just without an AP, it's only going to be the really weakest sort of infantry that it's really going to be doing damage to. I generally stick with the Exorcist, because in your army, you're going to have a lot of flamers and stuff like that. You're not going to need this big horde wiping rocket in most cases. Most other things in your army are going to be able to do it. Normal bolter, it's going to be doing just as much effect, and you have a lot of bolters, so you may as well use what you're using the rockets with. Just blast it with all your bolters. You've got them, just use them. And of course, having the extra heavy bolter, that's nice. That's a nice extra hit. So yeah, for Sister of the Battle, the Exorcist is S tier. You cannot go wrong with one. It's probably one of the best models in the army. And lastly, looking at what I'm still surprised is even mentioned, the Repressor. Now, this hasn't actually been a model you can buy for many years now, but everyone still loves it. It was really great back before. I think it's got good rules. It's not quite as good as it was last edition. I had a lot of fun with that one, but yeah, having a tank that has Fire Index 6, that's really good. That's really handy. So I ran a game with these, loading up with heavy flamers, run over the board. You've got so much fire just coming out of one tank. It's great. So yeah, it does have its fallbacks. It can't really do that much damage on itself. The twin heavy flamer it has, that's only 12 inches. Like the Immolator, that's 18 inches. So not great. All its weapon options are not great. The Dozer Ram's a nice touch. It's a bit higher strength than a normal tank shock, but overall, and yeah, it's got the extra wound from the Dozer blade. Its ability, the combat embarkation, I mean, that's a neat thing. You can just bring someone, I was charged, I can quickly get back in the vehicle. I mean, that's neat, but why were they outside of the vehicle to begin with? Because if they can fire, their best weapons, Fire Index 6, you're not going to have much need to pull everything out of it. So, but I guess, in tight situations, that can be really good. If you had a hero that you were just getting out, or just maybe you put a couple Crusaders in just to get out, do something to an objective point to just get the points, and then, whoops, they charge, run them back in, that could be pretty clutch. So, yeah, overall, it's a useful ability, but I think it's situational. I don't think you'd be using that all the time. So with that in mind, it's not really versatile because it's the units inside that matter, and it's not exactly the strongest. A lot of the other stuff have better weaponry than this guy has, but it's not about the weapons, it's about what it does, but still, and it's more expensive than the other stuff, but regardless, this guy gets in B tier, but still really good. Alright guys, so that's the list. As you can see, we've got a couple of S's, couple of A's, one B, and that's for a Legends unit, which you can't really take anymore, but I'd still recommend taking. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, as you can see, really high results for Sisters of Battle, and it's like I've always said, their vehicles are their strongest units in this case, in this edition. And like I said, comparing it to other vehicles, could you put it in another list to make this bigger? It's really not possible, because as strong as they are, as high level as they get for themselves, when you compare them to similar vehicles, that's when things start to fall apart. So you take the Immolator, alright? This guy's 115 points, and you put the twin multi-melter on him because you want him to, deal some damage to some larger targets. So you put him up against a duel with a Razorback though. A Razorback is 20 points cheaper, and if it's trying to do the same thing, to duel tank to tank, it's got its twin las cannon, the Razorback's going to win every time. It's more consistently dealing damage, it's got the longer range, it doesn't have the invuln, it's got less toughness, but it's wounding on a 3, the Immolator's wounding on a 4, which is better than what it's winning against most other tanks. So it's still got an okay choice, but it's still going to be the Razorback every time, and the Razorback is cheaper. So I don't know what exactly that says about it, but for something that's S tier for these guys, you can't put them as... I don't remember what I did the Razorback for. I think it was pretty high, S or A. But this is even more prevalent when you look at the Castigator. So of course we mentioned the Castigator's abilities, with its ability to reroll hit against infantry or monster, depending on what loadout you take. So compare that to the Predators and their loadout. So the Predators are only 130 points, so they're 10 points cheaper. And the Destructor ability for its autocannon, it has a little less shots, but it's basically the same profile. But this will increase the armor pen against infantry. That's so useful. So yeah, that's better. What the Predator has, I'd say, is vastly better, especially if you Oath of Moment something. You can buff these vehicles really good with the Tech Priest and the new detachment, the Iron Head detachment. You can do really well. So then we look at the Annihilator, and of course it's rerolling damage against monsters and vehicles, and of course you're taking that twin las cannon again. So the las cannon against the Castigator. So the Predator's twin las cannon and its 2 other las cannons. And that's the other thing, this isn't just the main battle gun that it's working on. It's working on the other las cannons as well that are on the side. So no matter what you hit, you could split fire the Predator, and its ability is going to work on all the things it's shot, not just its one main target that the Castigator does. So when you pin them together, Castigator versus Annihilator, the Annihilator again is going to win pretty consistently, because yeah, the battle cannon, it's strength 10, so it's wounding on 4s. The Annihilator's wounding on 3s with the reroll to wound. And then the Castigator has, AP 1 that can, be subverted in a lot of ways. And the las cannon, of course, AP 3, it's going to go to its invuln save, so it's not being saved by its invuln at all. Armor or invuln's the same. And yeah, like I said, cheaper, and just does the job better. So you can't put these guys on the same level as a lot of other tanks. So it definitely is something I think needs to be addressed. I keep going on about this, but yeah, they're S tier on their own, but they're just not reaching the same level as other things in the game. I can't really compare the Exorcist to, say, the Vindicator, because the Exorcist is faster and has longer range, even though if the 2 cannons, the Demolisher Seized cannon and the Exorcist missile launcher, were to fire at each other, the Vindicators win that fight pretty hands down. But again, you can just kite with an Exorcist. So yeah, the straight up fight, the Vindicator wins, but the Vindicator wouldn't be in a position to do that to the Exorcist without trying something sneaky. So it's not exactly relevant. So anyway guys, that's the end of this video. As I said, really good results for the sisters. Their tanks are great. I would recommend you always bring them, but they do need some fixing. They do need some help. I still believe that. Some people sort of don't. But yeah, it's just my opinion. So anyway, we're looking forward to the new AdMech Codex. Can't wait to see what they do for those vehicles. Hopefully I can get my hands on that soon, and then we can go through that. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.